Hello and welcome to an all-new Marvel cast, Explosion Network's hub of all things Marvel. Let's talk about everything MCU and beyond, from Avengers and Defenders to Cyanide, Jane, and Tempest. My name's Ashley Hobley, your resident god of mischief. Joining me today is Dylan Blight.
Sounds like Joan Jett, and Joan Jett and the, what they call rock and rollers? Oh no, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Had a nice ring to it. Coming together.
Had a nice ring to it. Yeah.
So today we're talking about the season finale of Loki Season 2, Glorious Purpose. Directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, written by Eric Martin, Loki learns the true nature of Glorious Purpose as he rectifies the past in this gripping finale. So Dylan, what did you see the online reaction before you actually watched the episode?
I don't think so.
No,
I don't recall saying anything.
I feel there was a lot of buzz going into the episode from social media, from the instant reaction of people watching it before I got to it, very positively. So Dylan, as someone who has disliked the whole entire season of Loki Season 2, what did you think of the Season 2 finale?
This was a very good episode of a TV show. It is frustrating that I had to watch so much hours of trash before this, though. But yes, this episode by itself was obviously very, very good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is a very good episode of television. Which will raise the question, is it so good that it justifies the previous 5 episodes?
No, it's not that good.
Do you think you need to watch all 5 episodes to set up this episode?
No. I honestly feel like maybe in looking at the larger picture, and with this hour, 55 minutes, whatever it is, 50 minutes here, that's so good. And thinking about what was necessary in this from this season, and you could be like, oh, well, they had to build up the Dickie time dude, whatever his name was. And I'm like, well, not really. There's just, it feels like they wanted to get, I've seen interviews where they're now saying, this was the second half of a book, and they're not doing a third season and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, okay, but you've done that thing where they split a book into 2 halves and then drag the context out to get 2 movies out of it, and then people complain. It's that's sort of what happened here. I just feel like if your idea was to get to this episode, sure, this episode was great and everything about it and the direction, and you've finally taken Loki, and in the bigger picture, all of this is really good, but it just really feels like they didn't have enough content to do a full second season. This nearly should just been a movie, 2 hours. Loki Season 2, there's not Season 2, but we're doing a feature length straight to Disney Plus movie, 2 hours.
Okay. I disagree. I feel like they did need the entire season, to set up a lot of the scenes and stakes and all of the emotional beats, and obviously they do the time returning kind of stuff. You need a lot of. They did a lot of setup in those first 5 episodes, and we enjoyed last week's episode as well, to be fair. But it's all necessary. I don't think you would. In my mind, there's no way you could pull this season off in 2 hours. Maybe 4 episodes. You probably cut it down a little bit, but yeah, it definitely felt ultimately a bit stretched, or it definitely feels this season felt like it was working from the back to the front.
Yeah,
they knew where they wanted to end up. They had a cool idea for the final episode, and they kind of have to spend the rest of the season kind of setting it up, just giving us bread until they could finally get to the cool dessert at the end of the season.
I just feel like bread's not exciting, and that's the problem.
Yeah. So
bread needs exciting things in between it.
Need some toppings on the bread.
Yeah. Need some condiments.
Need some condiments on the bread. There's your pull quote. This is a Loki. Need more condiments.
Yeah, need more condiments.
So let's just jump into the episode. So we kick off with the Marvel Studios fanfare plays in reverse, interestingly. As we see the seconds before Timely's death, Loki time slips through that moment and tells the team that Timely needs to get out. He dies anyway, and Loki asks OB what they can do differently. Obi says they took too long, so Loki slips back and tries to make the scene faster. Timely dies over and over and over again. He goes back even further to when Timely first met Obi and hurries things even faster. Loki asks Obi how long it would take him to learn everything Obi knows and is told it would take centuries. According to a title card, centuries do pass for Loki, and he learns everything necessary to instruct Timely on the mission. So I put out a great tweet talking about how great this episode was.
I put out a great tweet.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Great tweet saying how good this episode was, and it was just pictures of Doctor Who's episode Heaven Sent, in which Doctor Who does pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue. I did retweet it because I thought it was a good tweet, but it's just funny to hear someone say that out loud about their own tweet. But yeah, no, I agree. But that episode's better than this. Like,
well, again, you don't need that one. You definitely don't need to set up for. You can just go in kind of.
No, it's just blind. A character piece, sort of.
Yeah. But yeah, from there you can tell this is going to be similar-esque. This is the most time travel-y episode of the season. Definitely got those time loop elements of like trying to figure out how to get out of this problem, which is kind of set up here. And it's fun seeing Kim try to figure out how to do things more quickly, and everybody kind of reacting and realizing something is off. So that's a lot of fun. And like Obi, I don't know, would it really take Loki centuries to figure out? Well, I guess everything Ouroboros knows, to be fair.
I mean, it's not exactly, If
it was like just engineering in general, it would be like much shorter, but it's everything Ouroboros knows, he tells Casey to secure Timely's helmet, and that, combined with all of Loki's new knowledge, helps the walk go successfully. Timely is able to push a button and makes it back to the base. The loom begins stabilizing, but Obi notices that it is overloading because there are way too many branches. Timely says that the multiverse is growing too fast for the loom to ever possibly handle it. Sylvie suggests that the creation of branch timelines is what set this in motion. Timely apologizes to Loki as the loom explodes once again. So, everything they've been doing the last 3 episodes, getting Timely to try and fix the loom, was ultimately pointless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is fine.
It isn't, but it's also, again, part of my reasoning that I do believe, like, in the bigger picture, you could achieve the same results in a feature.
All right, we'll continue to go back and forth on this. All right. From there, Loki goes back in time to the events of the season 1 finale and tries to stop Sylvie from stabbing He Who Remains. He tells Sylvie she was right, not trusting him, and tells her he doesn't care about reclaiming a throne anymore. She threatens that she'll only stop if he kills her. Loki repeats the cycle multiple times, trying to stop Sylvie at increasingly earlier moments. Loki asks He Who Remains why he isn't even trying to stop Sylvie, and He Who Remains uses his tempad to pause Sylvie. He reveals he knows about Loki's time slipping, and that says that his death at the hands of Sylvie is all part of his plan, because he will reincarnate anyway. He Who Remains resumes time, and Loki reveals that he's already had this particular conversation with He Who Remains.
Yeah, I really liked when they went back to the season 1 finale. Like, yes. As soon as they went back there, I was like, oh, we're cooking now. We're cooking with gas with this shit. This right cool. Here. This is cool. And full points, because as the scene's playing out, I sort of brought into the obvious, which I thought was the point, the swerve. But, I'm like, it's going to be like Sylvie's going to have to die, that's going to be
that's the only way this makes sense. Yeah.
That's the only way this makes sense. But yeah, then when you get to the ending and having him actually make the self-sacrifice himself, like having the audience buy into the fact that he just had to kill Sylvie in the scene.
Yeah, that was always an option. That
killing Sylvie would have changed things. So
yeah, but it was always an option, but it was never an option. You know what I mean? But yeah, just really well done. Like a really cool recreation of like the first season's ending. Like, because obviously it's been a few years since they shot that, so like to pull everything together almost seamlessly. Haven't seen like side by side shots, but it felt
looked like my memory remembers it.
But yeah, really cool, put together scene, recreation. Yeah, lots of more fun time stuff. So He Who Remains pauses time again and reveals that everything in the loom is actually irrelevant to the sacred timeline. So Loki has been wasting his time. Loki decides to change the equation by breaking the loom, but He Who Remains says the loom is the only thing stopping the multiversal war that destroys everything, and that he is offering the universe mercy. Loki refuses to believe that and insists he is going to find another way around. He's going to find another way. He Who Remains resumes time and tells Loki to save what he can. Loki then time slips to the events of the season 1 premiere when Mobius is showing him his life in the Time Theater. Loki asked Mobius how the TVA decides who lives and dies. Mobius tells Loki a story about the TVA finding a variant in the Black Sea, who was going to be responsible for thousands of deaths, but ends up being a young boy. One hunter, Renslayer, hesitated in killing the boy, and it made things worse. Loki tells Mobius that purpose might be more of a burden than a glory. He thanks Mobius and shakes his hand just before he and the reality around him fade out of existence. I think this was a really great scene.
I disagree.
Really?
Really good scene acting wise and whatever. Character wise, I felt it was weird for him. This is the first scene they're sitting down and everything. I feel like the Morbius that we're with now, sure, obviously has this rapport with Loki, but this just very much felt like this is a scene written for the audience to reach for a certain emotional reaction. But in reality, if you were to rewind and look at how these characters would actually act at this time, no, he wouldn't just start going on like he does in this scene at all. It didn't make sense to me. So I didn't like this scene.
Interesting. No, I totally get that, but I think Mobius has been around the block enough times to tell when a vibe has certainly changed. I think he could tell that wasn't the Loki variant. In my opinion.
You can have your fan, theory in your head over there.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because the way I understood the story as well, I thought Mobius was the one who hesitated, and that's why he was the one who was Mobius who hesitated at the variant in his story, and that's why he's stuck in his job. But no, it turns out, based on this, that he was the one who got rid of the variant or pruned the variant, even though it was a kid, and obviously it's just been.
No, I mean that makes sense.
Plaguing him with guilt.
Throughout the first season, I always made it he was the hard ass. He was the best employee, So it's only this most recent second season where it's he's just this more. He just got pushed more into that comedic sort of side character role. But I remember the first season in the first half, they always hinted at and talked about basically him. He would prune any motherfucker.
But then it's also interesting that Renslayer would have hesitated when she pretty much turned on everybody.
Yeah, at the end of the season, but I don't know.
I mean, she was turning everybody for her own self-interest most of the season. So, but yeah, I thought it was a good. I can understand your reasoning. In the show, it doesn't make 100% sense, but as a finale, as probably the last time we'll see these two characters.
It's a scene written for the audience. It's not a scene written that actually works for the characters in reality.
But it just doesn't work for Mobius.
Yeah.
All right. Loki goes back to right before everyone disappeared in episode 5 and pulls Sylvie out of time to talk with her about the situation. Sylvie argues that sometimes you need to destroy something in order to replace it with something better. What do you think of the Sylvie Loki scene?
That's fine. I don't see if you want to compare this to the scene prior. Sylvie is reacting a way that makes perfect sense for me for that character being pulled out of time. That's fine. So, and it's their last final moment together. So
again, just which is interesting because it's in my mind, as I'm watching, I'm oh, is he going there to go
kill her?
She says, get permission.
Yeah, that's how I took it at the time too. Yeah, so, but then when you think back, her saying destroy something, obviously he took that and took it another direction. But when I was watching it, I was thinking this is her giving permission to kill her, sort of thing.
Yeah, to save the universe, or whatever. But turns out not the case. Yeah. So Loki time sleeps back to right before Timely's walk and locks Sylvie and Mobius out behind the door to the vault. He tells them he now knows what kind of god he needs to be and embarks on the walk by himself with no spacesuit.
He could have just done this the entire time.
Who knew? As he goes on the walk, his clothes transform into a new version of his Loki costume. He uses his power to zap the loom and then realizes he can physically grab and reignite each of the dying branches. He creates a crack in the space-time continuum, which he walks towards and through. Sylvie says that Loki is giving them a chance. Loki walks towards the throne, carrying the branches with him. The throne begins turning gold, and we can see that it's the remains of He Who Remains Palace. Loki sits on the throne and holds the branches together, allowing them to begin to heal. We pan out to see that we've been looking at the branches from the wrong angle. They're the World Tree.
Obviously very poetic, and this is the thing for all the stuff I didn't like about the episode. Like this last sequence is this is the be all end all, and it's not the be all end all of this season or this show. It's like such a fitting end for Loki as a character, because especially the way Tom Hiddleston's talking about it, like he's done with this character now. So
yeah, until Marvel comes along with the big paycheck, like every other actor in the MCU. But yeah, I think it was just like really well constructed and put together. I mean, I have questions like, how does he know that his green energy power is actually helping the timeline or revitalizing it anyway?
Faith,
just
right?
Innate faith, I guess.
Yeah.
But a very cool visual. Props to
also
the visual effects team.
Also, just thematically, like even this season and stuff is like they've had this stuff about like him not like he's not wanting the throne and whatever else. But the thing was, he may not have wanted the throne, but it turned out that he actually needed to take it.
He had #glorious purpose all along. Which is interesting when you think in retrospect, like Loki compared to Thor, and like Thor also like rejected the throne and is off doing his own thing. And now Loki, wanted the throne. I guess he kind of has a different throne.
I mean, the other thing that I thought was funny to think about is seeing everyone tweet about. Everyone's now tweeting about this character as the Loki. Let's not forget this is a variant of Loki.
This is Loki. We all know Loki died at the end of
Loki's dead.
Start of Infinity War.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Different Loki.
But everyone talks about this Loki like this is now the
definitive Loki.
The definitive Loki, which is quite interesting.
Yeah. But yeah. Just a perfectly crafted scene, like perfectly put together with all the visuals and the fantastic score in its moments. And Tom Hiddleston, like, really great. So, yeah, just a seminal moment of Marvel history, I think, probably going forward. All right. Sometime after, the TV is back to normal and is viewing the timeline as the World Tree. Miss Minutes is back. Mobius reveals that he's been keeping tabs on He Who Remains variants, including the one who is seemingly the Kang from Quantum Mania.
616.
616 adjacent, yes. Mobius tells Hunter B-15 that he's leaving to go experience the real world, and she tells him that he'll always have a seat at the TVA. The new TVA meets. Obi gets new copies of the TVA manual. A young Victor Timely does not get the book delivered to him, sending him down a different path. Renslayer wakes up in the void and finds remnants of the TVA floor. She sees the Alioth in action, but is unafraid. Mobius watches over a life where his human self and kids are happy. Sylvia is by his side. They talk about Loki and what the future can look like for all of them. Sylvia leaves as Mobius continues to watch over his house. We see Loki sitting proudly at the center of the World Tree.
Yep. Good epilogue.
Yeah. Not much.
No idea what these characters are going to do next. No idea if I even need to know what they're going to do next. But yeah, just a very fitting end for the show, I felt.
Yeah, just I mean, it kind of wraps everything up a little bit, or like it definitely feels like a satisfying conclusion. I don't think there's any particular loose end that you would be desperate to pull at, other than I guess what is Loki just going to sit in that chair forever? Just watching.
That's it.
Just watching everything, watching any,
Yep. He's made the sacrifice, you know?
Yeah. For now. All right. So what do you think is the future of Loki? I mean, everybody's coming out and saying that this is the end of it.
Yeah, I think it's done. Yeah, I
think
it's done. I think it's 100% done.
We've got Secret Wars coming up, which is, a bunch of like timelines. I mean, if we're gonna assume, we all assume the secret, like he's holding all the multiverses, right? So something's going to have to happen to bring all the multiverses together, thus affecting him in some way.
Yeah, he dies.
So he comes back to die again.
Maybe. No, I don't know. Maybe they'll drag him out at that point, but yeah, for now he's just holding. Get a little bit of peace amongst the.
Yeah.
You know, as Sylvie said, he's brought him sometime, not all the time, sometime. Okay. We know what's happening.
Okay, who out of all the characters we saw in this Loki season, who do you think we see again?
Again?
Yeah.
It's anything else?
Yes.
Loki.
Okay.
Sylvie.
Outside of Loki, yeah. Sylvie is your I think it makes sense. I think we'll probably see Sylvie in something else. Maybe 4 or 5. That'd be weird.
That'd be it though, to be honest. Yeah, I don't feel like anyone else is going to appear in anything else.
I mean, Mobius might show up in something weird, like trying to explain time to
the people. What if any of the characters technically? Like, that show's prime for just bringing in any of the characters from this as random episodes and stuff. But
it'd be cool. And if they do a spin-off season where it's what if, but it's like Loki telling the stories of like the different multiverses
instead of the Watcher.
Yeah. So Tom Hiddleston can still get a check. We can hear his sultry voice. All right. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the season overall? I guess other than
I still think it's bad. I still think this is a bad season of television. You cannot, just because the ending was good. Like, this is a fantastic episode of TV, but all in all, I feel like this was as we've said many times throughout the last couple of weeks. I just feel like each episode was just so most of the time a poorly paced, like just confusing thing where I didn't know why it existed, but I watched it.
Okay, so
I now know why it existed, which is the ending, but I really just don't feel like the season was necessary to get there. I feel like they could have got there a lot faster, half the amount of episodes at least.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I definitely think it could have been condensed, or they could have found more interesting stuff to fill in the previous 5 episodes. But that's what there is. The other thing that's been brought up is obviously in the Variety article we talked about a couple of weeks ago. They said, the MCU was fucked after this episode with whatever direction they want to take Kang from this season.
Yeah, I've seen people tweeting about this saying the Variety article is bullshit. I feel like the Variety article is weird wording, but like I feel like the sentiment's still the same, which is that ultimately Kang's still a thing.
It's still a thing, but I don't think it's like, as it's still not set in stone the way that, I thought it was going to be. I thought this season was going to end and Kang was going to be... We were going to cut again to the freaking Kang Coliseum or whatever.
Kang Council?
The Kang Council, yeah. Which doesn't seem to be the case. Which, maybe they cut it.
Yeah, maybe they cut it at literally the last minute for a window.
I mean, they actively, do
maybe
something
people saw a scene or like after credits scene or something that we never saw that exists to do with Kang.
Yeah.
So
maybe they did do something we just didn't know.
I feel like that's a very likely scenario.
Maybe this person just saw that Kang was in the episode and then was like, "No, they fucked."
I would actually lean heavily on the side that they've edited something out of this.
Okay. Well, let us know your theories about, did they edit Kang out? Did they change anything? What do you think of the season overall? Let us know by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump into our Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at All New Marvelcast, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars, and you can leave 5 stars or just tell people about the show, which is the #1 Australian-made MCU podcast on the internet, apparently, according to my findings. And if you've enjoyed what we've done this season of Loki and what helps out financially, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/supports. So, the next time we will definitely be joining you will be next year, January 10th, with the release of Echo. How are we going to cover that? I'm not sure. But watch that and join us next time for another All Me Marvel cast.